company, the promoters rather, have made a delisting offer to the public shareholders. This is at a price point of 328.2 rupees per share. The delisting is going to happen via reverse book building, which opens from the 9th of January to the 15th of January 2019. Remember, the promoters already own a 75% stake, with the others, of course, holding the balance 25%. And this includes Reliance Mutual Fund, about 35 FPI investors, 14 individual investors, and a little over 18,000 shareholders, which own about a 5.3% stake. So you are seeing the stock price rally on account of that news, 16% higher today in trade. Karanya, Titan, we're expecting the Q2 numbers today.
Yes, and it's looking like a weak set, Mubina. Of course, you track the company more than I do, but yes, the sales are seen higher by 23%. 4,192 crores is what we're expecting. EBITDA is expected to be higher by close to 20% at 532 crore, but we're expecting a margin compression come by 12.7% versus 13.1%. Profits are expected to be somewhere around 360 crores. Now, the gains in jewelry market share is something to watch out for. How much have been the sales? How much has it led to market share gains overall for the company? And what has been the contribution to the revenues? We're expecting a modest revival in growth in smaller business segments as well, including eyewear, and even commentary on the trajectory seen in the watches business is something to watch out for.
All right. That's the view coming in on a Titan. Jewelry revenue as well is something that I definitely want to watch out for after that aberration seen in the last quarter. But before we proceed with the countdown, let's bring on board Avinash Verma, the Director General of ISMA. What are we going to talk about? Well, first up, it's going to be the fact that sugar exports in India are going to rise. It's a big boost for Indian sugar companies coming in after China has said that they are going to import raw sugar from India. So let's understand the implications of the same on the sugar industry, which, do remember, up until recently had seen a glut situation. Avinash, thanks so much for joining in on ET Now. How meaningful do you think is this Chinese export market for the Indian sugar sector?
If you really look at most of them are sitting here in Asia, and the two largest importers of sugar, and one of them happens to be China. And China generally imports about 4.5 million tons of raw sugar. India to China about like in 2007 when we exported around 50 lakh tons. This is exactly what we attempt to do this year, is export about 50 lakh tons, and therefore Chinese market is going to be important for us if we have to achieve that kind of a target.
Okay, what's the potential of trade you expect between India and China? Yes, you did throw some numbers, but if we have to talk about future potential, like you said, India is not the only market for China. They do procure the sugar from other places as well. So what's the potential you see here?
See, as far as export into any country goes, we'll have to match the world prices, whatever is the prevalent prices. With the help and the assistance that we are getting from the government as far as the losses on the exports, in terms of subsidies, we are able to match the prices. So we are really looking at one market or the other. We are exporting 5 million tons. We are developing new markets like China or Bangladesh or Malaysia. And then we will export to whichever country takes that sugar. The bottom line remains that we have to match the world prices, and that is exactly what we are going to do now.
Undoubtedly, you have to match the world prices, that goes without saying. How do you see India's own demand-supply situation sort of alter going forward in light of this news with respect to the entire ethanol news as well that's just slowly developing? How do you see the entire glut/deficit situation going forward?
After estimation that we gave production back, ISMA is expecting a production of 30 to 1.
Okay, you know what, Avinash, I would have loved to get in that answer, but unfortunately, the audio is extremely bad at this point of time. We would have loved to actually get in some more perspective, and that too, given the fact that sugar at this point of time has been faced with a lot of conundrum, a lot of noise as well with respect to the entire news about ethanol. So it would have been important to get in. We'll try and reconnect with Abhinash a little later. But yeah, this is important news for the sugar sector. Like Abhinash as well pointed out, there is potential for trade in sugar between China and India. China's export market is quite an important one for India. Remember, it is, Abhinash did give some figures as well. So it's quite important from a larger scheme of things based on what the targets were to export across the globe, and of course based on what China as well can take from India. It's important in the scheme of things. Well, we'll continue with the countdown right here on ET Now then, and we have another result. Okay, no, before we do that, I think we'll just give our researchers a breather. We'll take a very short break right here in the show, but come right back. We're going to continue with Market Fatafat.
Let this Diwali be a beginning of a new journey towards a healthy portfolio and healthy you. Wishing you all a very happy Diwali.
Let's celebrate this colorful occasion. Let's illuminate this shiny night. Let's decorate our yards with the lights, with the warmth, with the prosperity. Wish you a happy Diwali. P.N. Gadgil and Sons Limited, since 1832.
Entrepreneurs, divided by geography and business models, but united by the global currency of entrepreneurship. Passion. We have worked tirelessly to take concerns, questions and dilemmas of MSMEs across the country to the biggest experts on your behalf. And we promise to continue bringing you the most relevant information so you, the MSME, can succeed.
Dream big, create a bigger impact and empower yourself. Only on Leaders of Tomorrow.
Presenting partner Capital First. Partner Brand Capital Leapfrog Ambition. Knowledge partner India SME Forum. Supported by MSME Ministry of India. Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, Government of India invites you to the country's most prestigious National Entrepreneurship Awards 2018 to nominate small and large businessmen or entrepreneurs. Entities and mentors supporting entrepreneurs can also be nominated. Winners will be awarded 5 to 10 lakh cash prize. Visit the website and nominate today.
इनको क्रेडिट कार्ड पे ऑनलाइन फ्रॉड का स्ट्रेस है,
18 रुपए चेंज,
और इनके पास छुट्टे भी लेस हैं। फिर क्या, यहाँ से लिया 4 आना, वहाँ से लिया 12 आना। पर कुछ भी हो जाए, इनको ऑनलाइन ट्रांजैक्शंस पे नहीं जाना। ये किया, वो किया, क्या क्या नहीं किया। एक्सक्यूज मी भाई साहब, ऑनलाइन फ्रॉड का स्ट्रेस लिया? हाँ। आईसीआईसीआई बैंक का क्रेडिट कार्ड नहीं लिया? नहीं। अगर लिया होता तो बस आई मोबाइल ऐप से ऑनलाइन ट्रांजैक्शंस ऑन या ऑफ करते। ऑनलाइन फ्रॉड से नहीं डरते।
Welcome back. You're watching Market Fatafat right here on ET Now, and let's continue with the countdown on Market Fatafat. MRF came out with its Q2 numbers. What the brokerage verdict is, let's go across to Vivek Iyer for that.
Well, Mubina, MRF came out with its numbers, like you mentioned, and if we're talking about this particular name, it's been a big spag as far as MRF is concerned. Revenues although above what most of the street was anticipating, below what Deutsche Bank was expecting, which is why, they've downgraded and trimmed their EPS estimates. But the one factor that's actually disappointed the street has been the fact that EBITDA margins have disappointed quite significantly, and severe erosion is seen as far as margins are concerned. And the other thing, of course, it's a long expected line given the fact that crude is something, a bit of an unknown as far as most of the tire makers are concerned. But at this point of time, Deutsche Bank actually says that the gross margin would remain quite stable going forward. And on the back of that, if you look at the stock today, quite range bound.
All right, that's MRF for you. Today in trade, it's higher by approximately 0.5%. But meantime, pharma stocks certainly seem to be finding a lot of favor in trade. Siddharth, Divi's Lab is one such stock.
Well, yes, Kunal spoke about Oro Pharma and how that stock is looking good on various scales. And Divi's Lab is already, bucking the trend. It is trading at fresh all-time highs, needless to mention on that. But even at these higher levels, and a lot of people will say that probably it's in overbought zone because there is hardly any correction which the stock has witnessed. We are still seeing that there is formation of long position at these higher levels, and not all pharma stocks are doing well, be it mid cap or large cap. There are very selective names, unlike some other space when each and every stock within sector goes up. Pharma has been very selective, so Divi's Lab is one of the pick.
So Divi's Labs is higher by approximately 2.9 odd %. Swati, what are you observing in an HUL today in trade?
Rubin, HUL are really doing very well. It's just placed above all the important moving averages such as 50, 100, 200 DME moving average. Also the fact that the daily chart indicates that the stock has given a breakout of a flat pattern today with the good volumes along with the price movement. So I believe that this stock is likely to be rally up to at least 1740 on upside, whereas a downside 1630 is acting as a very strong support level. So those who are looking for a buy position, they can definitely take a buy at the current level for an immediate target of a 1740 with a stop loss of a 1630.
Okay, so HUL is a buy with the target at 1740 rupees. That's a decent upside from the current levels. Meantime, OMCs certainly are the cynosure of all eyes. Once again, you've got to attribute it to the fall witnessed in crude prices, which in turn would certainly bode well for OMCs. HPCL, BPCL, IOC, all of them today are gaining very smartly. HPCL in fact is higher by 4.7%. So from those lows that it had touched in the beginning of October, we've certainly seen a very smart rebound come by in OMC names. Karnia, Camlin Fine Sciences, result reaction witnessed there?
That's right. In fact, it's a stock that we don't address very often, but the numbers have been so good that we're compelled to talk about it. The revenues have also shown a fairly smart uptick from 87 crores to 119 crores year-on-year basis. From a loss of nearly 4 crores last year, Mubina, they have been able to post a profit of 8.1 crores this year. EBITDA has also turned positive, 9.5 crores versus an EBITDA loss of nearly 3 crores on a year-on-year basis. So they've been able to really show a turnaround not only in their profitability but also on their operating front. So given the fact that the numbers have seen, the financial performance has seen such a massive recovery, we're looking at the stock price also soar in trade.
So that's Camlin Fine Sciences, 9% higher for that one. Vivek, AB Capital, why is that one on your radar?
Well, they came out with their numbers post-market hours on Friday, and if you're talking about this particular name, again, in trend with what most of its peers are doing, although the revenues went up almost 33% on a year-on-year basis, operationally it's been a weak quarter in terms of nationally raising fundraising activities, in terms of NIMs. Most of these companies are actually facing a liquidity squeeze, and on the back of that, if you're talking about the bottom line, down almost 13.5%, and because of which, if you're looking at the stock today, down almost 1.5% in trade.
Okay, so that of course is the view coming in on an AB Capital. Meantime, look at the numbers coming on your screens, and that is with respect to India Cement. Well, the profit figure certainly has dipped quite a bit. It's at 1.4 crore rupees versus what they had delivered the last time around of 24 crore rupees. So it's almost a 94% dip on a year-on-year basis. Top line, meantime, decent growth over there, 1,387 crore rupees versus 1,268 crore rupees. So it's a jump up of approximately 10%. That well, just a back of the envelope calculation, that's what's being witnessed for the Q2 numbers of India Cement. Do remember that margins have been a problem for most of these cement names, be it ACC, Ambuja, Ultratech, all of them have witnessed pressure coming by on their margins. And I think looking at the way the profitability has dipped for India Cement, I suppose that would not be an exception. In fact, let me just quickly get in Vivek Iyer's word as well on these numbers since we have him with us. Vivek, what's your take on these numbers?
Companies, most of the numbers are actually along expected lines. They were expected to be quite weak, especially India Cements, given the fact that the company had actually said that most of the demand around most of its areas, especially the fact that you have to keep in mind that this quarter, we had the Kerala floods, and a lot of demand was impacted because of that. The other thing, of course, we are still awaiting the volume figures. The other thing to keep in mind was the fact that petcoke prices in the last 2 quarters were significantly higher than what they were on a year-on-year basis, and on the back of that, margins were getting squeezed quite significantly for most of the cement companies. No wonder, I'm not really surprised to see the kind of profit dip that the company has seen, almost 90% lower. It's slightly weaker than even the weakest estimates. A couple of analysts were penciling in loss figures, but company has barely managed to stay afloat. In terms of India Cement, what to look out, going forward would be the kind of demand that Kerala rebuilding takes up, and the other thing to watch out for would be the fact that petcoke prices, which have cooled off quite significantly, would they be able to aid some amount of a margin expansion?
Okay, so that is India Cements for you. A very volatile move is what's witnessed just in the last couple of minutes in trade. The stock price now, I think, is trading at the day's high. Yes, it is 2.3% higher post the Q2 numbers. Okay, well, I think with that, we'll have to wrap it up on this edition of the show. Thanks to all of you for joining in. Swati, to you as well for giving your take on individual stocks. It's a goodbye from us, but join in at 1:30 for a brand new edition of Market Madam.
कुछ गहरे हल्के सात रंगों में लिपटे इन आँखों।
कल को बना रही हैं कल्पनाएं और स्टील, टाटा स्टील। We also make tomorrow.